Hello, my name is Osvaldo Loisi. I am a lawyer by profession, a researcher, and a writer. Presently, I chair a foundation devoted to study typical problems people suffer in condominiums, in big cities, due to the fact of living away from direct contact with nature. They suffer social problems and psychological problems, and on this account, I wrote a book called All About Condominiums. But my life changed dramatically about 20 years ago when by chance I came across a book called I Ching, which in English means the Book of Changes, used for centuries in China and in the Far East as an oracle for the purpose of divination. At first sight, I believed it was a simple pastime, but when I tried it, I discovered in it a source of deep wisdom. It shows like the other side of awareness, the other side of ourselves, and is really helpful for enhancing consciousness. The I Ching was introduced in the West by a group of French priests who served as advisors in the court of Peking in the 18th century. Later, in the 20th century, Carl Gustav Jung was the first scholar who recognized publicly that this book sets a real challenge to Western mind. This ancient oracle really fascinated me, I confess, and since then, putting aside any magic scope, which was not my concern, I began to study it with great interest and commitment. As a result of my research, I wrote a book, I Ching, a method for self-knowledge and personal orientation, with a psychological interpretation of the text. Since then, I promised myself to rescue the I Ching from the shadows of vagueness that surrounded and to put it on the path of science. I delivered several lectures about it in some institutions in Argentina and in the United Kingdom, in the School of Oriental Studies at the University of El Salvador in Buenos Aires, and the School of Asian and African Studies at the University of London. The fact is that it sheds a new light over our own way of thinking, showing a different type of rationality, and it is very useful at individual and social levels. It's very useful, especially today. Our civilization is facing some insurmountable problems, like devastation of nature due to excess of exploitation of natural resources, climate changes, melting poles, etc. We need to enhance the parameters of our rationality to understand, for example, that the idea of unlimited progress is false and needs to be considered within a wider frame. Also, recurrent economic crisis and the state of permanent warfare between nations, etc., etc. At the individual level, serious hard problems appeared that cannot be solved but with a broader mindset, like the addiction of masses to all sorts of escapisms, like drugs, violence, noise, consumerism, etc. In the face of such worrying picture, it is evident the need for making our consciousness grow to reach higher levels of understanding. This subject will be the core of my presentation at EUROTAS conference. That is, the restoration of the evolution of Western consciousness. The evolution of Western mind has been stopped from the 17th century as a result of the appearance of the so-called positive sciences and must be put again on track to be able to reach higher levels of ethics and morality. To be brief, my aim is to show how everyone could experience personally that state of raising awareness in front of everyday problems, adopting just a few rules to manage mind differently. That rules will be explained at the conference. We'll meet at Chisinau.